immunity. So this initiative, which has been started by Fast&Up India, which is called the Immunity Week, is being celebrated this whole week. And today, as a part of the Immunity Week, my topic for today is protein and immunity. So I'm very excited to be live from Fast&Up India's page, and I'm very excited to be interacting with all of you. So, as I said, today's topic is protein and immunity. But before I talk about protein and immunity, I would first like to talk about what is the role of protein in our body. Now, please remember that proteins are one of the five essential nutrients which our body requires. So, proteins are very, very important for our body. And protein is one of the five nutrients which is very, very essential for our body. Now, the word protein comes from a Greek word, and so the word protein comes from a Greek word called proteus, which means primary or first place. And that's why, we need to understand that proteins are very, very important for our body. Now, proteins perform a lot of important functions in our body, and now, proteins are basically made up of these units called amino acids. And these amino acids join together to form long chains and they form proteins. Now, there are around 20 amino acids which are important for the body. And these 20 amino acids together help to form many proteins in the body. Now, proteins are basically called the building blocks for our body because they are very, very essential for the growth and development of the body. They not only help in synthesis of new cells, but they also help in the repair of the damaged cells and tissues. um, I'm going to be talking about a few important functions of proteins. First of all, one of the main functions of proteins, like I said, is in the growth and development of the body. So, the proteins play a very important role in not only in the synthesis of new cells, but they also help in the repair of damaged cells and tissues. Um, so usually what happens is that uh, you know the all the cells as well as the tissues and organs in our body, the structure, the function and the regulation of all the cells, tissues and organs in our body is performed by proteins. So that's why proteins are very, very essential and important for the body. Another important function of proteins is that they basically help in certain biochemical reactions in the body in the form of enzymes. So these enzymes, which aid in these important biochemical reactions in the body, are basically made of protein. Also, the proteins, act as messengers in the body in the form of hormones. So, hormones, as we all know, have a lot of important functions in our body, and these hormones basically are chemical messengers that aid in the communication between cells, tissues, and organs. So, proteins are basically also, an important part of hormones. Okay. Also, the proteins, some proteins are fibrous and they provide the cells and tissues with stiffness and rigidity. So, one of the examples is keratin, which is a structural protein and it is found in skin, hair, and nails. And another example is collagen, which is, also an important protein. Now, besides this, proteins also have important function of maintaining the proper pH. They help to regulate the concentration of acids and bases in body and bodily tissues. They also help in the transport and storage of nutrients. Like, for example, one of the common examples is hemoglobin, which basically helps to carry oxygen from the lungs to the tissues. Also, proteins have an important function of providing energy. And we all know that proteins are an essential energy source also for the body. And proteins also help in performing one very important function in our body, which we are going to talk about in detail today, which is in looking after the immunity of our body and also in boosting the immunity. So, I'm going to talk about the role of proteins in immunity in details in the next few minutes. So, these are also one more important function, um, which the proteins perform in the body, is that they help to regulate the body processes to maintain fluid balance. So these are some of the important functions of proteins in our body. Now, moving on to the different sources of proteins. Now, there are different sources of proteins which are available. So there are basically um, vegetarian sources and non-vegetarian sources of proteins, or we can divide them as animal sources of proteins and plant-based sources of proteins. Now, please remember that usually the animal-based proteins usually have all the essential amino acids which our body requires. Now, we must understand that the body can produce almost all the amino acids in the body except 9 amino acids. And these amino acids are called the essential amino acids. And we need to provide the body these 9 essential amino acids through our diet. So that is why, it's very important to understand that 9 essential amino acids have to be provided to the body through diet. And that's why it's very important to, be very, very conscious about the intake of protein in our diet. Okay. Now, uh, the major animal sources of protein are meat, dairy products, fish, and of course eggs. And when we talk about the plant-based sources of protein, so there are many plant-based sources of proteins, primarily beans, legumes, soy, nuts. These are some of the plant-based sources of protein. Now, in a nutshell, if we talk about the proteins and their role in our body, I've already explained to you the important functions of protein in our body. There are a lot of other functions also which proteins perform in our body, but these were the main important functions which proteins perform in our body, which I kind of enlisted. Now, moving on to the role of proteins in the immunity. Now, first of all, we need to understand that what is immunity. Now, immunity is basically our body's first line defense against bacteria, viruses, and any foreign substances. So basically, our immune system is the one which actually helps to protect us from bacteria, viruses, and the foreign substances. So that is why, nowadays we are talking a lot about immunity, and immunity has become a very, very important topic of discussion nowadays. Now, our immune system is basically, like I said, our first line of defense against any harmful bacteria, viruses, and foreign substances. Now, why is protein very important for immunity? Now, there are several reasons for that. First and foremost, I'm sure you must have heard the term antibodies. Now, antibodies, which are also called immunoglobulins, are basically substances which are released by our body in response to a harmful bacteria or a harmful virus or a foreign substance when it attacks our body. So these antibodies basically help to protect our body from the harmful bacteria, viruses, and foreign substances. And these antibodies are made up of protein primarily. So that is why, protein becomes very, very important in immunity, because antibodies are one of the main defense mechanism which our body has, against foreign bacteria, against harmful bacteria, harmful viruses, and foreign substances. So that's why today our main topic of discussion is protein and immunity. And why protein is very important for immunity, there are several reasons to it. The first and foremost, which I told you, is that antibodies, which are one of the most important defense mechanism against the harmful bacteria, viruses, and foreign substances, are primarily made of protein. So that is why our intake of protein is very, very crucial for the formation of antibodies and for the proper functioning of the antibodies and our immune system. Also, we said that proteins are the building blocks of all the cells, tissues, and organs, and they play a very important role in the structure, functioning, and regulation of all the cells, tissues, and organs in the body. So even the all the cells and tissues which are in our immune system, um, definitely are also affected by the protein intake. Now, like we said that uh, basically one very essential function of proteins in our body is to produce new cells, and another important function is to repair the damaged cells and tissues. So like the other cells and tissues in our body, the cells and tissues of the immune system are also dependent on proper intake of protein for their proper structure, function, and regulation. So that is why, if we want our immune system to function properly, if we want our immunity to be strong, we need to have an appropriate intake of protein in our diet. Okay. Now, another important thing which I would like to talk about is that specifically proteins support the following immune cells. So there are these, I'm going to talk about a few immune cells which are supported by proteins. So the following immune cells are supported by proteins. The first one are lymphocytes. Now, what are lymphocytes? Lymphocytes are basically protein rich blood cells which play a very major role in keeping us healthy, and they also play a very major role in protecting us from the harmful bacteria, viruses, and foreign substances. And the proteins play a very important role in supporting these cells, which are the lymphocytes. Now, another important cell which is supported by the proteins is cytokines. Now, what are cytokines? Now, cytokines are basically also proteins, and these cytokines have a very important role because they regulate the turning off and the turning off. They regulate the turning off and the turning on of the immune cells. So basically, they stimulate the immune cells and ensure the proper functioning of the immune system. And these cytokines are primarily proteins. So that is why proteins support these immune cells, which are the cytokines. Okay. Now, the third kind of immune cells which are supported specifically by proteins are the phagocytes. Now, phagocytes are basically proteins which play a very, very important role in making our immune system stronger, because they damage the harmful bacteria and viruses which invade our body, and thus they help in creating a defense mechanism against the harmful bacteria, viruses, and foreign substances in our body. So these three important immune cells, they are supported by proteins, and that is why intake of proper protein in the diet is very, very essential for the proper functioning of the immune system. Also, there are a lot of you know uh, other functions, like we said, which proteins perform in our body, which are very, very essential for the proper functioning of our body. Now, like I said, that for a robust immune system, you need uh, proper formation as well as functioning of antibodies or immunoglobulins, and these antibodies or immunoglobulins are actually primarily made of proteins. So that's why proteins play a very, very important role in the proper functioning of our immune system. So uh, so if we do not consume the right amount and the right kind of proteins in our diet, it can definitely, affect our immune system. It can weaken our immune system, and it can also affect the proper functioning of our immune system. So this is very, very important for all of us to understand that the right kind of protein intake, not only in terms of the the amount of protein which we are taking, but also the kind of protein which we are taking, is very, very important, because proteins play a very, very important role uh, for a lot of important body functions in our body. Specifically, today we are talking about protein for immunity. So proteins are very, very essential for proper structure as well as proper functioning of our immune system. Now, how much protein should one consume? This is one very common question which a lot of people keep asking. But you need to remember that in protein there is no one size fit which fits all. So there is it's a very customized thing, because protein intake depends on a number of factors. It depends on the age, it depends on the gender, it depends on your activity levels, it also depends on the health condition. So these are some of the factors on which your protein intake depends on. So there is no one size fits all when it comes to protein intake. And like I said, there are several factors which basically affect the amount of protein which you require. And some of the main factors which affect the amount of protein which you require are age, gender, health condition, your activity levels. Okay. Now, like I said, proteins also play a lot of other important roles. Now, they help in regulation of blood sugar, they help in weight management, they also, are important in providing in helping us maintain our weight in the right way. They also help in regulating our blood sugar levels. So when you are trying to also maintain your ideal weight, and when you are trying to be fit, definitely proteins are very important. Now, why are proteins important in maintaining your right weight? Are because one is that proteins, if you include proteins in every meal, especially your main meals like your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so there are few reasons which help in kind of preventing any kind of excess food intake, as well as it helps in regulating your blood sugar levels. The first reason is that proteins definitely take longer than carbohydrates to get digested in the body. So they obviously keep you full for a longer period of time, and so they prevent unnecessary cravings or unnecessary hunger pangs for a very long time. So having protein or including protein in every meal, especially the main meals like your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, is a very good way to ensure that you don't have unnecessary cravings to eat more food, and it also keeps you full for a longer time. Also, like we said, if you include protein in meals like your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, especially the main meals of the day like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it also gives you more satiety. So you don't feel hungry for a longer period of time, and you feel full, and you don't get unnecessary cravings. Also, you know, the including if you include proteins in especially the main meals like your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it also ensures that your blood sugar levels are well regulated, and that's also a very important function of proteins. So also, like we said, that proteins have a very important function of repair of the damaged cells and tissues in our body. So especially if you're exercising, proteins become a very, very important part, especially of your post workout meal, because they help to repair the damaged muscle cells post a workout. So that's why, it is usually recommended that post workout you must take a combination of complex carbohydrates with a good source of protein, because protein helps to repair the damaged muscle fibers, which kind of get damaged during the exercise. So that's also very important. And like I had discussed earlier also, that the hormones in our body, which play a very, very important role in regulating the functioning of a lot of processes in our body, are also primarily made of proteins. So, the proteins definitely play a very, very important role here, because like hormones, we know, play a very important role in our body, and most of the hormones are made up of proteins. So that is why the intake of proteins in our diet becomes very, very important, right? So this is very important because most of the hormones are made of proteins, and since hormones play a very important role in our body, therefore the right intake and proper intake of protein in our diet is very, very important. Okay. Now, along with the diet, it is also important to have a proper holistic approach to your lifestyle if you want a proper assimilation and absorption of protein in your body. So it's not just that by just including the right kind of protein in your diet you will get all the benefits of protein. Please remember that for the right absorption and assimilation of protein in your body, you need to also work on your lifestyle, which means that you need to work on regulating your sleep. You need to also try and exercise. You need to manage your stress levels appropriately. And all these factors play a very, very important role in proper absorption and assimilation of protein in your body. So it's not just the intake of the right kind of foods which will give you the right kind of protein. It is also working on your lifestyle. It's adopting a holistic approach to your lifestyle, wherein you work on your sleep pattern, you work on your exercise, you work on managing your stress effectively. So if you want proper absorption and assimilation of protein in your body, then you need to adopt a holistic lifestyle approach. You need to work on your sleep, your exercise, as well as on your stress levels. Okay. So so this was about proteins and the function of proteins in the body, the main functions of protein in the body, and also why protein is very, very important for immunity. So I basically touched upon what are the important functions of proteins in our body, and you know especially why is protein important for our immunity. Okay. So I would like to see if we have any questions here. Okay. So there's a question from Rahul, which is, can you mention few cheap and clean sources of protein for regular intake? So Rahul, like I said, there are certain animal-based protein sources and certain plant-based protein sources. Now, some kind of economical sources of protein, especially the plant-based proteins, could be things like roasted chana. That's a good source of protein. Also, nuts like almonds and walnuts are also good source of protein, plant-based protein. Also, dals or legumes. They are very, very economical, and we have a lot of legumes. We have a lot of dals which are easily available in India, and dals. Uh, and lentils are a very, very economical and good source of plant based protein. Okay, so definitely, if you are asking me a source of protein which is like you said, very economical, then I would say that dals or lentils could be a great source of protein which is quite economical and is easily available. Okay. All right. So, thank you very much, all of you, for being a part of this amazing session. And I would like to sincerely thank Fasten Up India for making me a part of this great initiative. And I would like to sincerely thank all of you for attending this session on protein and immunity. Thank you very much once again for attending this session. Thank you and have a great evening ahead.